Okay, hello everyone. How are you? We're so excited to have you join us for today's roundtable, The Future of Learning, Tech Strategy, and Impact in L&D. My name is Chris Ekip, and I will be your moderator for this engaging and future-forward conversation. We have brought together an incredible panel of experts from the learning and development space, and I know you know all of them. So, the evolving role of technology in education and training, from emerging trends like AI, VR, gamification, instructional design, to the real-world strategies for adoption, scalability, and meaningful engagement. So let me introduce our amazing panelists, Tom McDowall, Linnéa Sjögren. Linnéa, let me know if I spell your name well.
Close enough. Linnéa.
Linnéa Sjögren. And Mo Ash, our amazing and genially ambassador as well. So each of them brings a unique lens to today's discussion, whether it's navigating vendor selection, aligning gamification, instructional design, tools with pedagogy, or encouraging adoption within teams. Those people are the ones that have the amazing information and all the strategies. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's see. I'm going to share my screen.
So someone in the chat is asking if this is being recorded, but since it's on LinkedIn Live, it will be, right?
Yes, it's recorded. It's recorded, and we're going to start right away. Sorry, guys, for this. So before we get started, I want to introduce you to a brand new feature, Live Results. And this feature allows us to create interactive content, invite participants, and host a truly engaging live session. And I'm waiting to launch this live session, Live Results here in our roundtable. So to experience it firsthand, I invite you to scan this QR code and join us in the real time. Throughout the session, you will be able to participate, share your thoughts, and engage with the content in a whole new way. So let's see. You can scan the code right now. Hi, Lina. Let's. Hi, Amy. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Ozam.
Well, we have 6 here and 40 something on LinkedIn. So
yeah, I think maybe it's. I don't know if we are slow to connect or if it's just unclear, perhaps why it's worth connecting. But this is the only way to get to ask questions or interact with us is to use the QR code, guys. So just bring your phones up or something.
We're gonna start. They will be able to connect it to scan the core.
Yeah. Oh, there's another Linnéa. That's not me. Ha.
I know I wanted to comment, but I didn't.
Yeah, you're like
withholding it in.
Actually not. Always happy to see another Linnéa.
So these are our speakers. Tom McDowall, If you want to know, Tom McDowall is the Chief Learning Geek at Evolve L&D, where he helps L&D teams become effective, efficient partners to the business. And yeah, he advocates for agile experimentation-led approach that prioritizes performance over content, clarity over complexity, I like that one, and real-world impact over vanity metrics. Thank you, Tom, for being here today with us.
Thank you for having me.
Linnéa Sjögren, Learning Strategies and Creative Multitool. So here's the full card. Linnéa Sjögren is a Swedish learning strategies instructional designer and founder of Linnéa Learning. She works with organizations of all sizes to build smarter, more effective learning solutions. And always with a focus on real-world relevance. I like that one as well. Strategic alignment and practical outcomes. Thank you, Linnéa. And Mo Ash, founder and learning architect at Catalyst. Our gamification guy. Mo is a learning architect dedicated to the notion of design and learning experience. He holds a BSc degree in Human Resources Management and minor in economics from Sarat Academy for Management Science, a master's degree in international development from the American University in Cairo. Welcome, Mo.
Thank you.
Let's do this. Let's break the ice. What's your energy level right now? Super energized, ready to get a start, going with the flow, a bit tired, eager to see what's next. I need coffee. Let's see. If you are here and you want to scan the code, you can scan it right here. Oh, ready to get a start. Yeah, me as well. Let's do this. So roundtable time. Which emerging technologies do you believe will have the most significant impact on learning and development in the near future? And how should organizations prepare? Who wants to go first?
I'll dive in. Why not? I'm not known for not taking the opportunity to speak. So I mean, it's kind of the I don't want to be like the boring or obvious person, but for me right now it is AI, and it is specifically speaking generative AI, but more specifically, it is not the generative AI that we're seeing that is just spewing out. Here's 1,000 additional words, or here's a picture of a cat in a space helmet, or a video of said cat saying the 1,000 words we just created. That I think is disruptive, very near term, but not necessarily valuable. And I think the best we can do to prepare for that is to minimize the amount of time we waste doing that. But what we can be doing is thinking right now about what this technology enables us to do that we could not do before. We've always been able to make content. We're very good at making a lot of content. Whether that's good in itself is another sort of discussion. We don't need AI for mass production of content. We need it to allow us to do things that previously we couldn't do due to scaling problems, or the amount of data we needed to bring together in one place, or patterns that as humans we were struggling to spot in the data that AI is able to spot. That's how we prepare for it, in my mind, is thinking about what we've not been able to do but would like to, and whether or not this technology enables us to do it instead. Very much thinking about not speeding up the existing system, but replacing the system with something that works better using this new technology. But as I said, I feel like the AI one was the obvious kind of low-hanging fruit. So get in there first and you get the easy answer. That's the main takeaway from my point.
But if I just want to jump on the AI sort of question here, I also think what we want to use AI for is personalization, right? But also, I think like knowledge check as well, like assuming we can get that to work with sort of the AI Act law, etc., things like that, then I think that what we really want in our tech tools is AI bots that both can sort of guide you and help you personalize things, but also just to help you check that you actually understood things, like on a deeper level, not just like choose between these three options.
Definitely.
I would take the rather more personalized way of looking into AI, us as instructional designers. So I mean, I'm a big Obsidian user. So my Obsidian Vault is AI. is AI governed, to be completely honest. I use a lot of community plugins that help me do my work better. In terms of research, validating content, like how Linnéa said it, and also Adobe Suite. The generative fill is pretty good for me. Enhancing audio through also Adobe's AI, like Adobe Podcast. So that's a good thing. The last thing is that it's pretty good to validate content as long as you know what you're looking for, because sometimes people depend on the first thing that AI would develop to them or produce to them. I'm talking here about LLMs. But my only comment to add is, please train your bots. Train your bots with negative prompts and actual prompts of what you want. Don't just depend blindly on what LLMs produce to you. So yeah, that's from our kitchen type of conversation, what we do to develop the things that we develop to our clients. As for the users, API is the way to go these days. I think it's helping so much. Like the work of Chris Hodgson. I'm sorry. Hope I didn't butcher his name. He's doing an amazing work with using API for audio transcription, for example, in Storyline. Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to add something, like to use it with responsibility and accountability. Like they need to train people to use it like right. And it actually scares me a little bit, the thing.
That's healthy. It's the technology that sometimes feel like it's smarter than you are, and yet you need to be smart in how you're using it. So you should be healthily scared of AI, I think. But I also want to say, because we're talking emerging technologies, and apart from AI, I feel like there's not a lot happening. And there are a lot of things I would like to see happening that are not happening. We're still very much stuck in like learning being in a separate system, for one thing, and I'm not seeing a lot of people offering options to that. And we've had all of these sort of trends going on, like gamification or VR, etc. But none of them have really stuck. They've been trends, right? And they've not been able to be scaled or used widely. And they have a threshold of understanding and tech that people have a hard time to adapt to. And I mean, if a learning organization is in here listening right now, what I would say is figure out how to move more of your learning outside of the separate system and into the everyday workflow.
But I feel like that's kind of part of the issue with how we think about and view AI. I think there's a link there, because we think of AI as a product, a Gen AI product, whereas in actual fact, if we view it as an underlying technology, we could use it to solve a lot of those challenges, like scaling something like an augmented reality experience. Manually creating them is still highly, often, not universally, but often fairly technical, fairly time consuming, requires a lot of skills. Maybe Gen AI can help with that. Moving content out of the LMS, LXP, whatever, putting it where the user already is, whether that's an inbuilt chatbot or whatever, that's truly personalized to that person in that role, in that moment, for that task. If we view AI as an underlying technology rather than a product we buy, which I think is often the problem, like we buy in a gamification thing and we buy in an AR thing, rather than thinking about, we're going to utilize this technology because it's the right technology to solve the problem. If we take the same approach with all these things, then to me, they're less separated and more, this could be a big unlocker for a lot of those trends that haven't been scalable previously, which I appreciate is not like practical tomorrow, but I think it's something we need to start thinking about, how we think about these technologies.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Let's see what
since I work with games, I'm just want to say, since I work with the whole game-based learning gamification realm, to me, I look for the least cognitively overloading piece of technology first before I go crazy with it, because the less tech, the better. Sometimes we depend on people being extremely literate with using so many different things. Like, for example, we're all heard about like Meta's new multiverse or Microsoft is going to change the way we do Teams, and we're going to show up not as avatars, but ourselves. And let's go and meet each other in VR. Honestly speaking, most of the VR stuff that I've seen, Tom and Linnéa, have been, how can I put it, braggadocious shows. Because you, like, for instance, you're teaching about emotional intelligence using VR, really? So I appreciate that you, yeah, I've seen the pictures, putting people on Oculus, and I don't know what they're doing, honestly, but they're doing something related to emotional intelligence. By all means, I need to talk with you to know more about empathy. But AR is good. VR, have always been skeptical about it. So again, it's not really about the tool like you've mentioned or the tech. What is the least confusing tech that can satisfy the purpose and it's scalable for organizations to capitalize on?
Yeah, and also I think it's really important because, and I think Andrew said so in the chat as well, is that a lot of times we choose the tool first, right? And that's the wrong way to go about it. You've got to go with the needs analysis and the goals first. And then you look at what is the appropriate way to achieve these goals. Should it be AR? Should it be gamification? Should it be, should it even be training, to be honest, right? Or is this
actually
a handout or an info page or something like that? And I think what organizations could do to sort of prepare is actually to try to figure out a way to organize information and make sure that it's always up to date and safe in as few places as possible so that we can then connect it to, say, AI or other things. Because right now, a lot of organizations are still struggling with having lots of different versions of the same information in a lot of places. So what happens when you connect that with the intelligence of, say, AI, is you only get more confused because you still don't know what the real answer is. So maybe if you want to prepare, like if you want to build an organization that can deal with that, start there, making sure that there is one truth and we know where it is and it gets updated.
I think
we have interesting answers here. For example, AI, even though we're sick of people saying it, and I know people will say AI, but it's not emerging anymore. It's here.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
But also emerging, because I don't think we've seen a lot of what it can do. And if you're looking at learning technology specifically, I look at all these tools that are telling us about all their new AI features, and they're not the AI features that I want, right? It's like, no, we can help you make quiz questions. And I'm like, well, quiz questions are proven not to actually tell us anything about long-term effects of learning or if we've even learned something. So why?
Totally. So, how do you plan for scalability when integrating new technologies, ensuring they can grow with your organization? It's a tricky one.
It is and it isn't, though, because every other department does this and they've been doing it for years without issue. I don't mean to be like, why are we so behind at this point? But there's no way your IT department brings in a piece of software to your organization without considering scalability. It's not actually something that we're doing for the first time in an organization. And if we are unsure as to how to do it, we should be looking to experts in doing it. We should be looking to IT. We should be looking to the risk management parts of our business to say, how does scalability work in our context? What do I need to be considering? And I think part of this is we're often too separated from the wider organization. We did this positive thing of breaking away a little bit from being like a subsection of HR to being our own thing. But I think we've built maybe too many walls. We've done too much of we're an internal consultancy that's here to help you achieve your goals, blah, blah, blah. No, we're part of the business. We are as much part of the business as the operations teams, as the contact center agents, as the salespeople, as the data protection officer. And the more distance we put between us, the more challenging the job of scaling any new technology becomes, because we don't understand what the reality of the business is. So it's kind of boring as it sounds. Step one to being able to scale anything is actually knowing what is going on in the business, being part of that, and then speaking to people who are already doing that and have been doing it for years without issue, rather than trying to come up with some clever like L&D solution to scalability, because it's not a new problem. It's been there since day dot, and others have had not no issue, but they are past the issues. So we should not tread our own path on this occasion. We should go to the people who know and take their advice, I think. Same as we would hope people would when it comes to performance improvement in the organization. Otherwise, we're kind of ignoring the expertise of others whilst championing our own ability to meander forwards, trying to desperately find a path, which seems problematic to me.
Speaking of Neanderthals, I would say we have an issue of feature fatigue. Like this feature this feature that. Click here, click there. There's a pop-up. Okay, you got yourself 25 XPs. Why? Why did I get points? Why did you put that layer? But it's gamification. But yeah, maybe I'm preaching the choir, but please, less features and more focus on diversity. Some people now we're getting more aware of neurodiversity, we're aware of accessibility, we're aware of certain buttons, certain clicks, certain things do not work with all cultures, all people, all skill sets. So I think scalability should start with accessibility and knowing where to come to the learner. If this is mobile friendly, okay. Desktop friendly or like computer friendly, okay. API friendly, even okay. Because sometimes all the learner needs is a PDF or an infographic. When you're just honestly,
So
when
often.
you're just reinforcement, yeah, or picture, but you're giving them a baggage, no, a barrage of features that they need to look into, and they don't know what to do with them. So you get them into choice paralysis.
Yeah. I also think the question is perhaps framed strangely because the scalability problem usually isn't technical. It's in the way we were planning to use it. So what happens is, as it grows, we don't have the resources to keep it updated, which means lots of organizations have what I would call dead courses or dead training, right? Like if you would go into it, nobody's used it for years, but it's still there, or nobody's updated it for ages, nobody officially owns it, it's just there. Like that's a scalability issue to me, because when you need to think, how are we going to keep this alive? How are we going to take care of it? Like that's the scalability issue I see. It's not tech. It's the human part of, you can't just throw content in here and then leave it. You have to have a long-term plan for making sure it's still what you need. And also when it comes to sort of this overwhelm and fatigue, remove all the content that's not needed. Like, please, it's okay to have a system with 3 pieces of training in it. That's okay. It's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Super clear. Take it any one of these, they're all good.
On that point, and this is maybe a question in of itself, but is that not a symptom of what I kind of started talking about as a L&D's obsession of ownership, that we have to own learning, that we have to own performance, when in actual fact, of course, what we do is produce training. Nine times out of 10. When we're doing a job better, we don't just produce training, but we don't make learning, we don't make performance. We hope that they are the results of our activities, but we don't create them. So it sort of is one of the reasons we struggle with scaling so much, the fact that we try and own everything. We built it, therefore we have to keep hold of it. Yeah. That's not really how anything else works. Not in the real world anyway. You release something and then stuff happens and you adapt, and maybe someone else takes ownership of it. Maybe, we produce a program that ultimately lives with line managers, and then the job of maintaining or whatever is hands off for us. Part of the problem, I think, of scalability is that we try to hang on to everything because we own it. It's ours. We must protect it at all costs from the evils of, I don't know what, but some perceived evils of someone else being involved in our work. And maybe if we had a slightly less tight grip on things, scaling would be easier.
Yeah.
SMEs are the evil ones.
I did not say that.
Sometimes we are the SME, so it becomes even worse.
Well, exactly. Yes, I think that's often the case, to be honest.
So we have some of the answer of the audience: training and support, tying the old with the new. I like that one. Marian say maximize we can be integrated for the future needs by knowing what are the needs and what modalities need to be fulfill learners' need. That's interesting one. It's important to start with digital literacy for all involved, and from there begin to scaling new technologies with practical projects. I agree with you, Antu. So let's jump to the next one.
Can I just say one last thing? Because
Of
I
course.
feel like we talk about scalability, but I also think we need to talk about replaceability. Like whatever you're getting now, you're gonna want to replace it within a few years. So make sure whatever you get is easy to replace.
True.
Yeah. Replaceability. I like that one. So, how do you keep your team and educators up to date with rapidly evolving technology trends? Nowadays, everything is a trend, but how actually the team and educators are up to date?
Well,
So we're waiting for answers from the audience.
No,
Right?
you can,
Or
these
do you want us to start talking while everyone's answering?
you can
Can I
say
ask
whatever
a
you want.
clarifying question? When we say our team, are we talking about like L&D professionals and educators, or are we talking about the people that we are supporting?
The instructional designers, you're actually the teams.
Thank you.
I have a like a list of podcasts that I do keep up with, and I fell in love with Substack. So Substack, they offer like lump sums of data if you follow the right ones in AI and visual interactions and UX and in L&D. Obviously, to me, it's been a good thing. And then with my team, I aggregate this and I try to offer it to them in sessions because some people don't really like to read or listen. So yeah, that is for me.
So certainly for everyone that works in Evolve, we set a very strong expectation of you are, and this is dependent on the level that the people you on your team are operating at. There is a strong expectation of set is you are a professional, you are choosing to be here, you need to keep abreast, whether that means reading, listening, going to events, whatever. It means we spend the budget on that. I think that's an overlooked thing, is that if you expect people to self-develop, if you expect people to stay abreast of what's going on in the industry, you need to pay for them to go to things and look at things and try things and read things. That's good. People should be paid for their expertise when they write a book or when they're speaking at a conference, whatever. But then there's also creating the space for just sharing that. Not I try very carefully with my team not to be like, you all need to be aware of this, because I may find it fascinating. They may find it totally irrelevant to what they're doing day to day. But then we create spaces where if you find something that might be interesting, you just chuck it in and say, hey, you're aware of this? And you effectively create like an informal knowledge base, which is really useful over time. But again, that only, to paint a real honest picture, that only works when you are working with a group of people who can, who are at that level where they are just driven to do it themselves. At which point trying to force something on them is pointless, it's counterproductive. But you do that too early in people's development and you're basically just saying, figure it out yourself, which is very unhelpful, as we know. So it does depend.
Yeah, so two things. The first thing is, I think, because there's so many things happening, I think you might sometimes need to point to people to the right things. Like, these are the areas I expect you to follow. These are the topics and trends I expect you to follow, because you don't necessarily need to follow everything in L&D, right? Depends on what you're working with. Otherwise, you might get overwhelmed. And some people like me, I want it all, right? Because I'm so interested and I'm sort of doing a little bit of everything. But for a lot of roles, it's better if you tell them, like, this is your area. And if you have a real team, you could also sort of divvy up the different areas and trends and then have them knowledge share at certain intervals, rather than having everyone have to read every newsletter or watch every webinar or go to every event. But the other thing that's not really here, but I think is really important, is to just make sure that people have time to test things. Like, we need sandbox time, basically, all of us, to just not just read about what's going on, but to actually try and see if it would help with what we're doing at the moment. So say we talked about AI, but there are so many versions of AI. So say AI video creation, right? You can read all about that, but you're not going to understand if it's going to be helpful to you or not, how you could use it, unless you also play with it.
You know that one of the things that happens to me is like, for example, I got into LinkedIn and I see a lot of posts and a lot of articles and a lot of threads and a lot of people like are telling you things and publicity as well. So sometimes personally, I feel behind. Like, oh my God, I need to learn all of these things. I'm in marketing and I need to follow this group and I need to be part of this community, but I need to work. So it is important what you say, like they actually you're maybe your leader or somehow you need to be pointed to the right direction. And yeah, some of them are trends.
Yeah.
And
All of
But
them.
also, I think
Not
look for
everything.
people who are doing some of the filtering for you, like what Mo's talking about, like with Substack or podcasts, etc. There are people who basically are dedicated to giving you what's going on, the trends, etc., and summarizing that for you, and then you can sort of dig further on your own about the parts that are interesting and relevant to you, rather than trying to firsthand perhaps take everything in.
I would also
That's
say
why
that.
there are
Sorry.
two. Sorry.
No, you go for it.
Nope. No, you have the bigger beard. You go.
Oh no,
You-
we're having a polite off. This isn't good, is it? We'll be here for hours.
You have the bigger beard.
So all I was going to say was that I think there's a piece for leaders here where you have to change people's mindset around the sense of being behind, because we always have been and always will be. There will always be someone out there with a new thing that you haven't heard of before that's way ahead of you. That's just how life works. And we need to think of that as one of the best bits about being alive and being human. That there will always be someone who knows something you don't know that you can learn from. And we have to, as leaders, frame that as a positive, or curl up under our desk and start crying because it's never going to change. And I think that is so often missed. There is this expectation of one day you will achieve expert level and you'll just know everything magically. Doesn't happen, doesn't exist. No one's there. The people you think know everything learn new stuff all the time because they embrace that mindset of, isn't it wonderful? I've discovered something I don't know. And we've got to embrace that as part of this. If you don't, it all falls apart around it. And especially as L&D, we should be able to do this bit relatively easy. This should be at the core of who we are, I would say.
Well, I am a big time hoarder of tools, so because FOMO kills me inside. But there are two websites that I found that kind of help me with that. One is called Futurepedia. The other one is called that. There's an AI for that. That's literally the name of the website. So I go in whenever I'm like, hey, I want to see what's happening. Maybe it's not in the newsletter. And I try to hold myself, I curb my enthusiasm to try everything by going through the glossary, see how it works. And I'm thankful that some of them do have like freemiums and free trials. So usually what I tell people, do not pay in anything unless there's a usage of it and you can get something in return of it. I mean, you can get paid for using something like that. So Substack, LinkedIn, and all of that, they fuel me out with ideas. Then I go and see if there's an AI for that and check what I could do. If it's possible, and then not, it's not. But there was a time when I felt literally, as you said, behind. FOMO is killing me. I feel that I'm a lot less than others, but I think we all need to take a deep look at ourselves, and do we really need to do this, or we're just looking to know? Huge difference between both of them.
Yeah. If I go and say something, I know you're wanting to go to the next thing, Christian, but just the last thing I want to say is also focus on what would help achieve the goals that you are trying to help your organization with, rather than just everything that's new and shiny and interesting and funny. Because in all of this bombarding of news and new features, etc., there are a lot of things that are not for you, in terms of they will not help you achieve the goals of the training or the resources that you're creating for your learners. And it's okay to look at something, go, nope, that's not it, and not look at it anymore. Like you know it exists. Go like, is that going to help? No, it's not. Okay, next thing, please.
Wonderful. So, what strategies have you found effective in encouraging educators and employees to adopt new technologies? Let's see what the people are selecting.
Yeah, what do people say?
Offering microlearning resources or self-paced tutorials, offering hands-on training and workshops tailored to their roles. Yeah. What do you think?
So since I don't have a beard at all, does that mean I get to go first?
Absolutely.
All right. No, but I was thinking it's not really one of the options here, but I think there's always, like, some people need help just getting over the threshold of just starting to use something, right? And that can look like any of these things, resources or microlearnings, etc. And they're not necessarily for learning, they're just for making people feel safe enough to start trying them and start using them. And so what you're actually asking yourself is, how can we make people feel safe enough that they are willing to try it and see what happens? And then the other thing is, and this is the only thing that's going to make them get into it and make sure that they actually continue to use it, is it has to be helpful for them. It has to make their work better, easier, more interesting, more rewarding, something. It has to be better, because even if you introduce them to, say, a new technology, but that is really bad technology and it's not helping them, it's making their life harder, there is no amount of training or resources or workshops I can offer that will help with that.
In many ways, it's the same as sort of very basic product design: useful, usable, desirable, in that order.
Yep.
Nothing can be desirable if it's not both usable and, most importantly, useful. The same process is gone through when someone creates a Spotify or an iPhone or a new piece of software, except when we look at business software, we throw all that out the window because it's business software. So we go, it needs to be difficult to use, unhelpful, and look like it was built in the 70s. That's the problem, ultimately. But basic product design, to my mind, has been the most effective in this way. And in terms of sort of what I've done in practice, is give people time to use this stuff. We are often mildly obsessed with the idea of behaviors and training delivery in L&D, and I get why. For a lot of us, that's the job, right? That's how the job is described to us. But if we step away from that and say, why aren't people getting to grips with new software? So, because they're really freaking busy. Like, most people in their day-to-day job do not come into work going, I'm going to try and learn something today. They come in going, I've got 6 emails to get through, then I've got a meeting, then I've got that, then I've got that, then I'm going to try and get home in time, and I'm going to do this with the family, and da-da-da-da, and so life goes on. So instead, carve out an hour and say, hey, for this hour, jump onto this new bit of software to do whatever. I'm here if you need me, but this is totally your time to get comfortable with it before you have to use it in the workplace. That is so powerful.
Story time. So hopefully this client is not listening to me, Tom and Linnéa. Okay, hold on. Okay. So they contact me for a gamification thing. And then what I got to know is that they're proposing, why not create a game? And I mean video game. So salespeople, while they're visiting the doctors, obviously it's a pharmaceutical company, while they're visiting the doctors, they can play a game while waiting for the doctor together in multiplayer. I'm like, okay, in theory, I think I could do something like that with developers, but why are you contacting me? And what would they do while they're playing? Well, we can test them on product knowledge. Okay, so if I'm preparing to go to a doctor to pitch my products, why would I compete with others while they're waiting? Apparently, they're all waiting at the same time to test my knowledge on product knowledge. I mean, theoretically, I can do that kind of game. And then I asked her, do you know how much that's going to cost you? Do you know how difficult it is to scale that game and to update the PK every time? So yeah, adopting new technologies can be as simple as push notification on an SMS to remind people to do something. And I did that before. I don't mean to promote Genie, but I did play small Genies and push notifications where people can get an infographic, do something that is so simple at times where they're at peace or luxury or commute, not while they're waiting to prepare for their pitch to meet the doctor. They will be playing a freaking video game. So yes, again, go down, go really down to the level of the learner. And we should be using technologies to reach people, not to overcomplicate something that doesn't need all those types of shenanigans.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I agree with you.
Please, hopefully that client is not listening to me right now. I still want to do business with them.
We didn't say the name, so.
Yeah.
So let's jump to the next one. What criteria do you consider when selecting technology vendors for learning solutions?
Ease of use. Ease of use. Simply, that's it. Ease of use.
But for
That's my
example, you're
number.
in a conference, you are in a learning technologies or DevLearn in another conference, and you go visiting different stands. What actually feels to you like, oh, I like this new technology. I would like to try them. I believe that is something that caught my attention for my teams.
Easier user experience, minimal UI, something that can make me get right into what I need to do. And as for us as IDs and developers, like ID designer, ID developer, I need something that can help me do my work. I'm bootstrapped in my type of business. So as a bootstrap business, when I started to do websites, and obviously I'm not a good web designer, I went for a tool that is based on drag and drop. I'm dragging and dropping blocks to build my website. And that's cool. I need those types of things for me, and I need them for my learners. Simply.
Yeah. So what I would say, because I do help clients sometimes buy tools or LMSs or platforms or whatever. And what I always tell them is we're not going to look at anything. I mean, we can look at it for curiosity, but we're not seriously looking at anything before we've done our own needs analysis to figure out what we need to be able to do. And that's the things we're looking for when looking at vendors. So otherwise, what happens is you just go look at vendors and you get, dazzled, right, by all of the fun things. It looks really good. They made this thing that's really something. But you have to think about, who's going to use it? What are we going to do with it? What features does it actually need to have, etc. And when you know that, then look at vendors. I wouldn't look at vendors. I mean, I do because I want to keep my eye on the market in general. But if you're out buying something, before you start looking, because also when you start looking, you can sort of fall for something and then you compare everything with that instead of comparing everything with what you actually need.
I think everything Linnéa has just said, I think they need to be able to articulate a clear fix for your specific problem in your specific context. Then the two other things that I really look for is, one, are they interested in running a pilot to help you test whether or not this is the right fix? If they're not interested in helping you run a pilot, you shouldn't be interested in working with them. And two, you need to do really serious due diligence on the company behind the product that you're considering buying. We're seeing a lot of, I think, in the next 3 to 4 years, going to see a lot of consolidation in the space. That always happens. Explosion of new companies happens, then they consolidate. It happens with every technology. It's going to happen again. Is the thing you're buying going to exist in 6 months' time? That is now a very serious concern that we need to be thinking about very early on, so that we don't waste our time and energy talking to companies that then get bought and vanish and the product disappears or gets deprecated or whatever. So it's trickier to do, but it is going to become a really big part of the next couple of years, I think, for a lot of us.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing I would do, the thing I always ask that people are usually surprised when I ask them is like, tell me how you think learning happens. If you ask a vendor, like, explain to me what learning is and how it happens and what needs to happen for things to lead to behavior change. If they can't answer that question, I don't care what they built.
Yes. So, What innovative techniques have you adopted to track and measure user engagement beyond traditional metrics?
Can I ignore a bit of the question and not talk about user engagement? Because I'll be honest, beyond the initial, did they do it? I don't want to say I don't care. Engagement is a very broad term, but in terms of like
completion rates,
I'm and this is based on kind of what I do. I just don't care about those numbers. What I care about are the business metrics we've assigned to this, and it's difficult because they're not particularly innovative. All the models really stem from the same sort of data coming out of the 70s and 80s that tell us exactly what we should be looking at in businesses. We should be aligning to real business metrics. We should be deciding what what short, medium, and long-term metrics play into the overall company objective we're trying to impact, all that sort of stuff. The only innovative thing I could really think about is the fact that I don't think we should be doing the measurement. I think we should be going to the experts in measurement in the organization in which we're working. There will almost always be some form of data intelligence or operational intelligence, business insight team, whoever, who are tracking everything that moves in the business. They have all the data and they are experts at collating it and analyzing it and spotting stuff in it. Why on earth would we pretend to be data analysts for an afternoon and do a bad job? Is kind of my challenge. So I would say the innovative part is going to them and worry less about, did they click on this 3 times versus 2 times, or did they spend 5 minutes on it or 3 minutes in it? Actually, I don't care whether they did the intervention or not in some ways. I care about if us doing something impacted the metrics we intended to impact. Because if 30% of the workforce doesn't do our training, then did the number go up? And if so, then we worry about whether or not, the workforce that did versus didn't went up or down and that kind of thing. That it's kind of secondary. It's not something I'm primarily concerned with. But that is a niche perspective. I will stress that point. So I would assume at least someone else here will have a different point of view. And it's not an exclusionary point of view, I would argue.
Look, the usual thing
I'm
is...
on that.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Mo, you go.
Okay. Well, the usual thing is that I should let Linnéa talk because ladies first. So go for it. Caught off guard.
Okay, well. No, but what I was going to say is I don't necessarily look at engagement either, because I'm not interested in engagement. I'm interested in learning. And as Tom points out, actual business results that might be had from having done whatever that is that they're supposed to do. What I do think we should track more and at least look at more, and I think we already have this data, but we're not looking at it, is where do we lose people? So if we look at people who are not completing training, where are we losing them? Because if we're losing 50% of the people that drop out before finishing at the same point, then something up to that point is wrong. There's something happening there that's making people go, oh, not right now, or I'll do this later, or I don't have time for this, or whatever it is, right? And so that is what I would go in and look at. So I'm not looking at where are they having fun. I'm looking at where are they leaving, where are they giving up on us, and can we change that to have people reach the end of the training and therefore hopefully the goals of the training.
Well, I am going to lean on my background in human resources. So I'm a CIPD associate. So we've learned about onboarding, and the thing that taught me the most was to scaffold things to not the learners, to the team that will be deploying the learning. So we are in agreement on how we're going to onboard it, how we're going to monitor it, and how would you maintain engagement by things that are beyond the LMS and what is happening by operation. So we need to have both of them hand in hand working together, because I'm not going to wait till my completion rates are done to make sure that my work is evident, my work is effective in a way or another. Because whatever we do, we use AI, we use XAPI, we used anything to make learning more engaging, more fun, more challenging, blah, 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 blah. What about the culture Did you advocate? Did you work on this? And a couple of days ago, a friend of mine here came and gave me shawarma, and he was telling me about a client in Kuwait. And I don't really care if that client is listening to this or not, because I'm not doing business with them. So the point is, they wanted to do work with no competency matrix, no indications, no nothing. And well, they complain because Mo is asking too many different questions. And I'm like, well, someone did. And when I asked, they're working for the fun of it. They're working for the fun of having someone to educate. They're having the fun of facilitation. So sometimes you need to sit down with a client, let them know how our onboarding will be, how we're going to make this momentum scale and get bigger, and let them know what to look for as outcome. Because sometimes what they're looking for is surveys, vanity sheets, LMS completion, but they're not looking for return on impact on the job. So I think it's our role to advocate for this more.
Yeah, and also I see a lot of people trying to construct metrics after the fact, right? You've already built the training, and then you want to, figure out what performance metrics it might be connected to. You need to do that first. Are there even performance metrics on this that we can look at? We might need to start tracking them before we deploy training, if there are not, etc. You can't do that after the fact. That is just, I guess, I don't know, vanity or stupidity. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's not useful. You need to know before you even build the training what metrics that it is you're trying to impact. Otherwise, there's no point in measuring anything.
One client told me, they sent me an email about this, and then I had to call them up and give them a word. Can we use your learning objectives as KPIs when they're done with the program? I was dying inside. My body ached so much. So thank God I had good rapport with that client to give them a word about it.
Yeah, you could be honest. That's good.
Just to throw it out there, though, this is the challenge for us, and I think for everyone on this call, is that there is a reason that these kinds of, everyone has one of these stories, or probably more of those stories, right? They have, because that is the expectation we as an industry have set for ourselves. The work we as an industry, not individuals, and as an industry we have done in the past has led the workplace to think at that level about the L&D team, workplace learning, development, performance facilitation. So it's actually up to us to change that. It's kind of easy to get upset with the client, and I do. Absolutely, I do. But we've got a real stake in fixing that, which I think everyone on the call can be a part of fixing that problem.
Yeah, and what I usually tell clients is either we find the metrics beforehand, like I need to do the needs analysis anyway. I need to know why we're doing this, right? So hopefully we can find metrics connected to that. But if not, then we might need to choose to do this knowing that there will be no performance metric to follow up on. And we choose to do it anyway because we believe in it for some other reason. And that's fine, but you have to be honest about that being, what we're going to do, and that it's a choice.
And it won't be solved by gamification. Yeah. It won't.
Nothing is solved by gamification, as far as I've noticed.
Stop giving gamification a negative connotation. It will not help with this. And don't put quote Duolingo. Duolingo is not the best representation to us. It's not. No one used Duolingo and learn to talk with a different language. I do not. Okay, I got streaks. I got commitment. I did not know. I won't be able to talk to Linnéa in Swedish. That's not going to happen.
No, it's very bad, and I'm still upset.
I'm sorry, but it's not. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So gamification is not going to work with that. Gamification is good for Duolingo to sell, to drag you in, because we're all competing on the learner's attention. But let's put attention aside and impact on the job in a different side. Yeah. That's the point.
Thank you very much, guys. So this session has come to an end. This is our final question. How well did the session meet your expectations? Thank you very much, Linnéa, Mo, Tom. If you want to ask our panelist question, feel free to leave a comment in our chat. We have a couple of minutes, but thank you very much for being here, for sharing your experience, your insight. It's really valuable to us and to our community as well, because you have different perspective, but all of you are work connects in the industry, and you inspire a lot of instructional and transitioning teaching to instructional designer that they don't know what tool to use, what they feel overwhelmed with all technology out there. So thank you very much for support this community as well.
Yeah, you're welcome.
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 Just while we're waiting to see if there are any questions, there was one comment I wanted to draw attention to in the chat, which was from Andrew Jacobs about a quarter of an hour ago, half an hour ago, that it's all about culture, and that you do have a learning culture in your business, though we always talk about it being like the top priority of L&D every year in some survey that comes out. It will be there, top 1 or 2. It just may not be the learning culture you want or what you designed for. And I think that's around all of this, it's such an important conversation to have. And everyone will debate it different ways. But I often think like every deliberate effort from a business to design a culture that I've ever seen has failed. Because cultures are just what happens in the business, and you cannot design an architecture every single action, every single what is accepted and what's not in this context. It's what the people do, it's what the people believe, it's the reality on the ground. It's not the slogans you print on big letters on the office walls. In fact, that's usually a bit of a red flag that this is definitely not what the internal culture is. It's what the exec team came up on a weekend away with. And I just thought it was such an important thing to touch on in this conversation.
Yeah, and I think if you're in a leading position and you want to change the culture, live the culture that you want.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, since we're looking at the chat, someone asked about not podcasts on Substack, but places on Substack. My own recommendations is Learning Developed, the L&D Dispatch. I'm actually opening up my phone to look at the list. Irregular Letter, if you're into facilitation, The Psychology of Cooperative, Deep Learning. What else? What else I could recommend? The Learning Brief, and yeah, Deep Learning Weekly, The Learning Brief. I don't want to miss out on really good stuff, but okay, the Behavioral Science Digest. Those are some of the top, but the rest, it's up to you. So again, I wouldn't tell you about all of my choices because they're my choices. It might not appeal to you, but this is something that we can all agree on.
Yeah. I didn't catch all of yours, but the one of the Substacks I've been following for a really long time is Dr. Philippa Hardman, Learning Future Digest. Super good.
Yep. Yes.
Especially if you're trying to keep up with AI.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you very much, guys. So this session has come to an end. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and thank you all the audience for being here as well and participating in our last session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.